Welcome to another edition of This Week at the NCPA. The Symphony Orchestra of India have just culminated a wonderful tour of the UK, and it's only appropriate that we speak to the stakeholders. Marat Bisangaliev is music director and co-founder at the Symphony Orchestra of India. Marat, how are you?
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
I like that the Christmas spirit is in the air. You have a lovely little tree at the back there.
Yes. Hi from France. Yes, it's really,
Lovely. And General
really
Manager
nice to be
SOI.
back. But it's not a great weather, but it's still nice. Still nice to be back. Yeah.
Yeah. General Manager SOI and Western Classical Music, Xerxes Unvala. How are you, Xerxes?
Fine, thanks, Hrishi. Thanks for having us back.
You know, this has been fabulous. The SOI's fifth international tour, second tour to the UK following the last one in 2019. Talk to us about the success of the second tour and tell us more about the audience's response to the triple concerto concerts. Xerxes must have been fabulous.
Yeah, I think so. We had 8 concerts this time on the tour, and I think all of them were received extremely well by the audiences there. We had 3 different programs, which Marat can talk about in a bit. But of course, one of the key pieces we took on the tour was the triple concerto that Zakir Hussain had written for the SOI. We had commissioned it. It was a triple concerto for tabla, sitar, and bansuri, which we did with Zakir Ji and Niladri Kumar and Rakesh Chaurasia. So we did that in 3 of the 8 concerts in the tour, and of course, it to very enthusiastic audience responses wherever we played that. But I have to say, actually, all the concerts were received very warmly by the audiences there. I think the quality of the orchestra and the playing was greatly appreciated. So we were very pleased with how the whole thing went.
Excellent. Marat, the repertoire of the SOI UK tour was finalized by the NCPA chairman and SOI co-founder, Mr. Kushru Santuk. And of course, you. The two of you sitting together, could you share more about that process of curation, or what actually gets on?
Well, I have to say that this sit together is always it's a bit of a soap opera because we don't usually agree on a certain things on the program, and of course we have to discuss it. Sometimes it gets heated. Of course, it's not decided only by us. Andrew Jameson from IMG, he gets involved and he tells us what is preferable for UK audience, and we have to listen to him as well. So it becomes a little bit complicated, and I must admit we changed the program quite a few times. Also, we had a change in the conductors. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to get our associate director, Zain Dalal. So we were very grateful that Richard Fans stepped in and conducted those concerts, including my program with the Khachaturia Violin Concerto, which went very well. I was very happy to play with Richard Fans also in Mumbai, and in England, I think it went even better. So this is something which I was personally very pleased with. Regarding the rest of the program, yes, we chosen very ambitious program, and when I was talking together with Xerxes, actually, to one of the critics, he said that he really appreciated that we didn't go the usual sort of safe way as any other touring orchestras. Yes, we went for very difficult and ambitious program like Parsifal, Wagner, like Strauss, Rosenkavalier, like Khachaturian is another concerto which is quite difficult for, and of course it's a triple concerto, which is the highlight of the tour.
Lovely. Xerxes, the media, including the likes of the BBC and the Tribune, have written some great reviews about the Symphony Orchestra of India's performances. Talk us through some of those key highlights, please.
Yeah, so, almost every concert on the tour had some critics or journalists that were there. And we were really pleased that universally the reviews were all very positive. I mean, of course, the audience response, but also what was written in the media there. So We had some articles in the BBC, the Spectator that had come and attended our concerts on the last tour had come back this time and similarly spoke well of the orchestra. The Guardians, a lot of the top publications. So we were, I think that was really, a proud moment for us to show that the SOI can stand its ground internationally with top, the UK, especially London itself has so many great orchestras resident there, all the top orchestras visiting there, and that the SOI can hold its ground amongst those internationally. I think that was really important for us to showcase.
Marat, you really are a nurturer of talent. How does it feel for you to see this kind of talent, the Symphony Orchestra of India Academy, the SOI Academy graduates, and the trainees being a part of the UK tour? This talent reaching international forums must mean a lot to you.
Well, I'm very proud, as well as I'm sure every other member of NCPA. I think both BBC music magazine and Spectator, they all mentioned about our training system, our SOI Music Academy. And this time we included 2 graduates who are part of SOI now, and they were part of this tour. And of course, to have this after only 11 years of school of the academy, that's I think a really big achievement for everyone and for me personally. I can tell that they are high standard musicians who could kind of withstand any sort of test in any orchestra. They are really good musicians, and they are certainly really always welcome in SOI.
Xerxes, I can just picture the entire SOI at airports, bus stands, traveling with so many sensitive musical instruments. Must be so challenging, for an orchestra of this caliber to travel overseas. I'd like to know a little bit about the chaos, if it were, or the semblance of calm, if it were that way. All the behind-the-scenes action of traveling that the SOI goes through.
Yeah, I think there is always some element of chaos when we're doing something like this, and especially with for a tour of this scale. As Marat mentioned, we had some really big repertoire. So our total traveling party was around 100 people. When you have the musicians, our stage crew, some of our staff, the guest artists, etc. So that is always a bit complicated, and we're moving around almost every day. We had 8 concerts in 10 days, so it's sort of constantly on the move there. And then other things like the instruments. So some of the smaller instruments we carry with us from here. Some of the larger instruments we sourced locally in the UK. In fact, I think Marat personally made a pre-tour visit to London and chose the cello and the basses from a reputed dealer there. So there's a lot of this tour has been years in the making to reach this point in November. So, I think overall it all went off quite smoothly, I think, but there is always elements of chaos.
Well,
I would like to add. To this that something which Xerxes didn't mention, but we had the unfortunate fire in the NCPA, and a lot of instruments, including my personal collection of instruments, which I was giving to musicians from the very beginning, and the NCPA collection were lost. And of course, here we had to get quite a big challenge of getting the instruments ready for the tour. Yes, and yes, my personal sort of travel to UK. I'm here very grateful to Florian Leonard workshop, who provided us with excellent instruments for the tour, and also for the collection. So here, yes, we had a quite tough time. This has happened relatively recently, I think in the summer. Yeah, so this is something which we had to face with.
What a pity. Now, just reading between the lines, what Xerxes means by fair bit of travel is this. They started off at Coventry, they went to London, then they performed in Birmingham, Bradford, Edinburgh, Croydon, Cambridge, and then back to London. So a spectacular concert tour there for the SOI. Marat, I want you to talk a little bit about the Khachaturian concerto, which you played on the tour, and obviously preparing the orchestra for such a big tour with so much representation. That itself is a mountainous task, isn't it?
Absolutely. Khachaturian is a concerto which is very tough for the orchestra because it, in a way, it's like a marathon. It's a marathon which requires quite a lot of skills and energy from the orchestra, because it goes from incredibly tragic to incredibly sort of celebratory mode, and it have a quite a large, big orchestra and very tough challenges, ensemble from ensemble point of view, from dynamics, from kind of a balance between the soloist and the orchestra. So it was very interesting to work with orchestra, and especially with Richard Fans. He was very particular in this concert about this concerto, and he worked tirelessly about it, quite scrupulously. So I think he managed to make from this concerto something special. I'm very grateful to him.
Lovely. But my last question is to Xerxes. Following this celebratory UK tour, the SOI is now preparing for yet another promising season. Tell us a little bit about the lineup and what the audience can expect from the SOI Spring 2024 season. And Marat, I believe both the conductors for the forthcoming season you have introduced to the SOI. Martin, with whom you have a long relationship, and somebody else who you recently discovered. So I'd like Xerxes to start, and maybe Marat can take over there.
Yeah, so just a few weeks actually, we're back on stage here in Bombay with the spring seasons. We've got 4 great orchestral concerts, a lot of the core orchestral repertoire, Mendelssohn, Brahms, Beethoven, and a mix of sort of Bombay favorite artists and some new people. So Martin Brabins has been here. I think this will be his 3rd or 4th time conducting the SOI. The musicians love him. I think the audiences love him. I think Marat will concur. Some of our best performances, I think, have been under Martin that the SOI has done. So we're looking forward to having him back after quite a few years. And Barry Douglas will play the Brahms Piano Concerto No. 1. And then we have 3 artists making their debuts in India, including the conductor you were mentioning, Xerxes Madaras. So actually, maybe Marat can talk there because, you know, as you said, Marat and Martin go way back. And then I think Marat more recently met Xerxes and has wanted to bring him here for a while.
Yes, Xerxes Madaras, he's a young conductor, but I identified him as a future great conductor because I performed with him in Budapest in Ferenc Liszt Academy. It's a great hall. I played with him 2 violin concertos, and I listened to him conducting the orchestra, and I was very impressed. Since then, I was talking to Hrishi K, our chairman, and to Xerxes about him, and finally, after many years, he's coming to Mumbai. And it's not because we didn't have opportunity, because he became so busy, and it took quite a few years for us to agree on a date. So we've got this date beginning of February, and I personally look forward to it, and I'm quite anxious how the Mumbai audience would receive him. But in my view, he's a really great conductor, and really conductor with a bright future. The second name, of course, everybody knows. He's the principal conductor of English National Opera, Martin Brabins. I knew him from the very beginning because he was studying at the same time in Soviet Union. Then it was Soviet Union. Yes, he was a really young, kind of upcoming conductor. He was only starting, and I remember at that time already I used to have an orchestra in Almaty, and I gave to him an opportunity to conduct this orchestra. That was one of the first performances for Martin Brabins. Now he is one of the most sort of established conductors, and I have to agree with Xerxes that one of our brightest and the best performances to date were with Martin Brabants, especially his recording of the planets. I think it's for anyone who is listening to this recording, they admit that that's the highest performance and highest praise which we could get.
Just to Marat's point about the scheduling, he said, it's taken many years to bring Madaris and all that. I think very often people don't realize how far in advance we need to work on our programming, especially a lot of the bigger international stars are booked years out. So, like right now, actually, we are programming our 2026 seasons. So it's about 3 to 5 years out that we need to plan all this. So I think people often don't realize that the lead time in planning something like this.
That's an amazing insight. Marat Bisangaliev is music director and co-founder Symphony Orchestra of India, and Xerxes Unvala is general manager at the SOI as well as at Western Classical Music at the NCPA. Xerxes Unvala, thank you very much. Marat, thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you guys in person very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week at the NCPA, where we tell you what's hot and happening not only on stage, but what's off it too at the National Center of the Performing Arts. On the 4th of January at 7 p.m. at the Experimental Theatre, Indian-American pianist Kunal Lahiry shall perform. And we're very pleased to have Kunal with us here on the show. What's up? How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here.
Kunal, this is exciting for all lovers of your music as well as classical music. You're coming to the NCPA, and I believe the evening is going to be full of Rachmaninoff, Ravel, Albéniz. I leave you to tell me about the track list and how much it means to you that you're sharing it with the audience at the NCPA.
Yeah, so this is some of my favorite music that I've been playing. Some of it new, and some of it are some of the first pieces that I learned as serious classical pianist. Most of it is coming from Spain and France in the first half, and it's all coming from the beginning of the 20th century. So you have this impressionistic influence in those pieces, and then the second half is all Rachmaninoff, who is one of my favorite composers, and that was written at the end of the 19th century, and it's full of romantic Russian incredible melodies and harmonies. And I'm half Indian. My father's from India, and I was raised in the United States. And I have a lot of family in India still, spread out all over the country. And as supportive as they've been, listening from afar and supporting from afar, I've never been able to come to India and actually perform for them. And I take that as a bigger symbolic meaning as well, that just being able to come to India and to share what I find beautiful and how I can express myself to an audience that I haven't been able to connect with before is an honor for me, and I'm excited to begin that new chapter, it feels like.
Well, Kunal, we're very pleased to have you debut at the NCPA, but you must be aware of the National Center of the Performing Arts and its legacy. The Tata Theatre, the Jamshid Baba Theatre, which recently hosted Maestro Zubin Mehta conducting the Symphony Orchestra of India, and of course the Experimental, where you yourself shall be performing. So just your thoughts about the NCPA and how much you're looking forward to performing in that wonderful arena.
Yeah, it's an incredible institution, and I was lucky enough to see a performance there just at the beginning of this year in January, and I saw the SOI perform, and they did a piano concerto with Alexander Ullmann, and it was a full sold out audience, incredible performance, and just the way that the NCPA mixes both Western classical and Indian classical in such a seamless way, and is able to offer so many different things to its audience with all the different halls that you mentioned and all the different performers that come there. It's exciting to be a part of that history as well.
I want to just look back at some of your other work. In 2022, I believe you were invited to create a conceptual interdisciplinary song recital for the Heidelberger Frühling Festival. You called it Sleep Cycle of an Insomniac. It's quite an interesting title. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, so Heidelberger Frühling is a classical festival in Germany for chamber music, and they have a very well-known classical singer, Thomas Hampson, who leads a masterclass for young singers and pianists to work on art song. And my master's in Germany was in art song, and I've been working in art song with singers for quite some time now. And so when I was a part of this program, at the end of it, they invited me to curate an art song recital, but to kind of push the boundaries of what it can be, and what classical music art song recitals, what the formats can be, and to which audiences it can be accessible to. And so I wanted to basically create a story through various songs that didn't actually have any relationship, but through my kind of dramaturgy, I put them together and created a story out of it. And the story that I wanted to create was this person's experience with insomnia and trying to sleep and not being able to sleep, and the different stages of that. And so the concert was structured in a way where it's nighttime and trying to sleep and can't sleep, and the frustration that comes with that, and then taking a sleeping pill, and the kind of in our case, it was this kind of abstract hallucination that then came from that, and then the actual pure sleep that the protagonist had, which was 15-20 minutes, and that was our intermission. And I played a piece during that, which was supposed to be just the pure kind of sleep experience. And then after that, there was dream, and then nightmare, and then the experience of waking and not feeling completely rested. So it was just a kind of an experiment of how we can take songs that were from Finland, that were from France, that were from Russia, that were from America, and from 200 years and many different languages apart, and just how can we find a common thread to tell a story with that.
That's wonderful. Well, you're no stranger to playing along with philharmonic orchestras, and I'm sure that shall continue, especially philharmonic orchestras in Europe, where you currently live. How's the season looking like? I mean, more appearances with orchestras. If you could look back and tell me about orchestras that you've performed with, and ones that you're looking forward to performing with.
Yeah, well, actually, just last week I was with the BBC Philharmonic, and I was performing a new piece. I was performing a piece with them that has only been performed once, 65 years ago, by the female composer Pamela Harrison. And part of the BBC is kind of an archival developmental department to seek out music that is underrepresented and find performing opportunities and recording opportunities for that. So I've been working closely with them. This has been my second project with them, recording pieces for their archives that are not on record. And that was a really incredible experience, and I hope to come back next year for more projects like that. And my debut with the orchestra started when I was 17. I played with my hometown orchestra in Gainesville, Georgia, in the United States. But besides that, I've been mostly concentrated on recital work and concert work and chamber music. So more intimate settings, 1 or 2 people on a stage versus 80 people on a stage. And I've grown a lot through working in that kind of format, and only recently I've been wanting to actually explore more symphonic kind of range of performing. And so you have to change how you listen, how you relate to the other musicians, how you perceive time and rubato and interpretation is all greatly influenced by how many people you're sharing the stage with. So I hope I get more opportunities to explore that further. And there are definitely a lot of things that I would like to do with orchestra that I haven't done yet. But it's been a fun journey so far.
I believe you're currently also in the process of a long commission project to create a trans winteries, which basically takes the dramatic scope and psychological landscape of Schubert and Muller's song cycle, reimagining it as a contemporary narrative for the queer identity and journey. A cycle of 24 new songs by queer poets and composers, which specifically speak from your perspective. Also, you've also been involved in lots of research for queer people in classical music, and that's quite interesting. If you could talk us through that, please.
Yeah, so we have this idea that classical music doesn't have any kind of relationship with queerness, but actually the more we dive into it, the more we know that that's just not the case. And actually, what is the case is that we have created this kind of environment in order to listen to classical music, which rejects queerness as something that is welcome in these spaces. So the Transwinterreise, so Winterreise means in German winter journey, and it's Schubert's most famous song cycle. It's 24 songs that follow a man that leaves his home and his lover. There's a farewell, and then goes on this journey through the winter by himself, with just nature, and ruminates on this experience and finds himself. And it's very the pinnacle of German romantic poetry and experience. And I wanted to reframe that so we could have a different protagonist, a different point of view, but at the same time saying these people experience exactly the same things as Schubert's protagonist in their own unique ways. So we're different and we're the same at the same time. And there's not many trans voices, there's not many queer voices that are being highlighted within classical music, within Western classical music. And I just wanted to use my platform and my opportunity to get other institutions to support me on this idea that I have, and they have so far. So the first commission, the first 4 songs have been written by a trans music producer and an artist in Berlin, and also a poet, about their experience in Berlin as trans women, and finding solace during the harsh winter months that we have through techno clubs, and the kind of liberation and the community and self-discovery that happens in these boxes of music and sweat and lights, and how that correlates to Schubert's Winterreise. And I think that's a really exciting connection to be made, and that's what classical music, in my opinion, needs to find more ways to recontextualize itself with modernity, but in a genuine and personal and unique and honest way. And so that was through the BBC Radio 3, and there will be more commissions in Montreal, in London, maybe in Germany again for the future commissions.
That's fascinating. Now, you did mention you're from Gainesville, Georgia. You subsequently went to study at McGill University. You currently live in Berlin. What is it that you enjoy most about Berlin?
Yeah, Berlin happened kind of accidentally in a way. I finished my studies in Montreal, and my teacher kept on telling me, go to Europe. But I thought that I wanted to go back to the United States for my studies, and I was ready to move to New York or Houston or wherever, and I just didn't do very well on my auditions. I just wasn't ready in hindsight, and so I learned a lot through the process of auditioning, and then Germany's had later audition dates that I could still apply for and still, qualify to go to school the following semester. And so I just packed a bag and I went to Germany, and I auditioned there, and I got lucky that I was one of the ones chosen for the school in Berlin, which actually is the school that I should have been trying to go to all along, and it's where I was, I think I was supposed to be. And I think if I had been in New York or Houston, I would have a very different trajectory than I do now. And that was in 2014, and since then I graduated in 2019, and then I just started to make my career here. It's still a very affordable city in terms of European capitals. It's a very diverse city. There's a sense of freedom and space that I have in the city that I don't have when I go to London or Paris. And there's such a rich musical history, whether it's Western classical or whether it's techno or anything in between, that there's always something going on. And it's a very transient city as well. I mean, just in the history of people who have passed through Berlin on their kind of rite of passage to becoming an artist, it has inspired a lot of people. So I don't think I'm the only one in thinking that it's quite influential.
There you have it, Indian-American pianist Kunal Lahiry, a current BBC New Generation artist, recipient of the 2021 Carl Bechstein Foundation Scholarship. He shall perform on the 4th of January, 7 p.m. at the Experimental Theatre NCPA, right here in Mumbai City. Tickets are at Book My Show and at the venue. Book My Show as well as at the venue. And for more information, check out bookmyshow.com. bookmyshow.com. Kunal, thank you very much for speaking to me, and I look forward to catching up with you when you're here for your performance.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks so much.
One World, your station.